A very good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha Television. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor with you. Well, of course, it is a big day for Manipur and Uttar Pradesh. We are at the last leg of really the assembly polls in 5 states, and Uttar Pradesh is voting in the 7th and the final phase, as well as the Manipur are voting in the 2nd and the final phase. Of course, all the updates are from the ground from there. Let us start with the headlines. Polling underway for 7th and final phase in Uttar Pradesh and 2nd and final phase in Manipur. 40 seats voting in Uttar Pradesh, 22 in Manipur. Suspected Islamic State terrorist killed after 12 hours of operation in Lucknow's Thakurganj. Police say he was linked to Tuesday's Bhopal-Ujjain passenger train explosion. Counter-terrorism declaration adopted at IORA summit in Jakarta. Member countries agree to share information and best practices. China says it will soon take a call on India's demand to designate Masood Azhar as global terrorist by United Nations. Reveals 320 of its nationals being trained in Taliban camps. And a second defeat for Brexit bill in the House of Lords. Seniors are called for a meaningful parliamentary vote on final terms of withdrawal from the EU. Well, our special segment verdict 2017 first. Well, voting is underway for the 7th and final phase of elections in Uttar Pradesh today. Remember, 40 seats are spread across 7 districts, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi's constituency, Varanasi, are voting today. The other districts where people are exercising their franchise are Jaunpur, Ghazipur, Mirzapur, Chandoli, Sonbhadra and Bhadohi. 535 candidates, including 51 women, are in the fray. Well, there are 1.41 crore eligible voters. The BSP is contesting on 40 seats, while BJP on 32, SP on 31, Congress on 9 and RLD on 21 seats. Remember, the first phase of polling saw 64% voter turnout. There was 66% in the second phase, 62% in the third, 61% in the fourth, 58% in the fifth and 57% in the sixth phase. All right, my colleague Kriti Mishra is now joining us live from Varanasi. A very good morning, Kriti. In fact, while we are speaking to you, we can see long queues at one of the polling stations where you are in at the moment. Tell us the mood and what is happening there at the moment.
Well, Aishwarya, I am at one of the polling centers in Varanasi, Kant. And remember, Aishwarya, Varanasi Kant constituency is one of the high-profile constituencies in Varanasi. Out of 8 constituencies are for grabs. And also, let me show you, Aishwarya, that exuberance among the voters is absolutely palpable. People have been queuing since morning, and in fact, since 6:45 a.m. in the morning, they've come to the polling center just to exercise their franchise. And in fact, a lot of polling officers had to tell these voters that voting would actually commence at 7 a.m. and not at 6:45 a.m. So definitely people are getting more conscious about their political rights. And also, Aishwarya, before we say anything else, let me wish you happy International Women's Day. And also, women have fought a long battle to get that political sphere in life. And joining me are 2 female voters here, Kajal and Shreya. You can see they're all dressed up to go for their job, to board their flights. There are air hostesses actually, and let me just get a sense from them. Kajal and Shreya all set to board your flight, but both of you thought that it was important to exercise your franchise first. Give us a sense of that.
See, actually, we all know that our one vote is very important for our nation, for our country, and so we decided if we will get delayed by 2 or 5 minutes, then we will definitely go and will give the vote.
Right, and what about you, Shreya?
What matters is the one vote is much more important than other thing, I feel like. So I prefer everyone to go ahead to give a vote. I don't think like everyone is so much busy in the morning that then after getting one tea, they cannot come to give a vote. So I would request everyone to please go ahead and give a vote, because that is much more important than other things today.
Certainly. And Varanasi has actually grabbed a lot of eyeballs. I'd like to understand from the both of you, what were the issues that actually dominated your minds when you went and did cast your vote?
First of all, when I woke up at the morning, I was getting delayed. So I thought that I have to go and I have to give the vote, because our nation, we have to give the vote to them who can actually does for it. And
Actually, what about the requirements we are facing? Like, we are going for a vote. Why? Because we are thinking like what we are thinking to get in our country, in our city, you can say, on a UP. So UP is, it's now a big topic for everyone to get a vote and all, because of Modi ji, Akhilesh ji, and everyone is there. So when I'm keeping my persuasion that we want this in our city, so we should go ahead with the vote to the right person, because I wanted, so I woke up in the morning early to go and run and give a vote.
So development was a core issue, Shreya.
Definitely. Development is the first, because I want a good development in my city. So I'll go ahead with a good person to get the vote done, and I have did my job.
So certainly, Aishwarya, you can see that people are yearning for development and are actually queuing up to exercise their political and democratic right.
Absolutely,
Aishwarya?
absolutely, Kriti. And what better way to celebrate Women's Day than to just, assert your rights as far as the democracy is concerned and go out and vote. Thank you so much, Kriti, for all those updates. We'll keep coming back to you. And extensive security arrangements are in place, and companies of paramilitary forces and police have been deployed to ensure peaceful polling in Uttar Pradesh. While speaking to Rajya Sabha television, Inspector General of Police of Varanasi said that appropriate action would be taken against all poll illegalities.
We have made elaborate security arrangements for the polling day. We have deployed 800 sub-inspectors, 425 head constables and 5,700 constables, totally for polling duty. We also have 50 barriers to check the free movement and infiltration of outsiders and antisocial elements.
So how many companies of paramilitary forces have you deployed?
We have deployed 55 companies of paramilitary and 4 companies of state provincial armed constabulary.
Has there been seizure of illicit liquor and cash?
Yeah, there has been a seizure of 3 crore 38 lakhs cash only in Varanasi districts, and we have seized 2,892 liters of liquor also. And every vulnerable village we have deployed the paramilitary force in the vulnerable pocket, and police have made elaborate preventive measures before the election, and all the vulnerable areas were properly taken care of, and there is no vulnerability as on today.
And it is also the second and final phase of polling in Manipur today, and voters have been turning up at polling booths since 7 a.m. after a record 84% turnout in the first phase, while 22 assembly constituencies in the valley districts of Thorbal and the hill districts of Kurul, Chandel, Tamiglong and Senapati are voting. Now, 98 candidates are in the fray for this phase. The big names include Chief Minister Okrami Bobi Singh, Deputy Chief Minister and human rights activist turned politician from Charu, Iram Sharmila are contesting in this phase. While Sharmila, who fasted for 16 years for the repeal of AFSPA from the state, is in the election fray for the first time and is pitted against Bobi Singh himself in a Thorbal constituency. Now, voting in the state has taken place in the backdrop of an extended economic blockade called by the United Naga Council since November last year. This blockade has hit normal life severely. And let's get a ground report. Akhilesh Suman is joining us from Senapati district. Very good morning, Akhilesh. In the first phase of elections, we saw close to 84 to 86% of turnout. As one can see from the lines behind you, it seems that that percentage is probably going to be better this time in this phase.
Yeah, right, Aishwarya. We are standing at a place that is called Senapati, and you know the Senapati is the bastion of United Naga Council's whole organizational structure. It is in a way headquarter, and I can just show you the scene behind it. Such a splendid view of this whole area. The area is surrounded by hills, and this is the area where economic blockade is operating. and the no commercial vehicle can pass through this area. Only military vehicles are allowed by United Naga Council, otherwise no private vehicles can pass. So in that backdrop, see the number of people, the young boys and girls, the people, men and women, they are all standing in queue since 5 a.m. It is just surprising that people are standing here since 5 a.m. and they have been allowed to stand in the queue because everyone will want to, that he should vote in the beginning. So you see such a disturbed area, but people dare to come and vote, and the reason behind it that no organization has told that voting should be boycotted. So it is very positive sign, and you are right in a way that the poll percentage might go up. Because yesterday I was talking to Chief Electoral Officer and he was also telling that normally there is a competition between Valley and the Hills, and Valley has voted in around 86%. So I think Hills will vote more than that. So it may go to 87% or something like that. So it's really a very interesting situation. And here I will come and talk to you with a gentleman who is, I think, one of the elderly in this area. And sir, what's your name?
My name is Paul.
So you are standing in the queue, this area is suffering from the blockade. So what are the issues in your mind that you are coming for vote?
Actually, we are vote for, not for actual candidate, but we are vote against the creation of the 7th district. The people are very much angry about these activities of the government of Manipur. So, the majority are against.
Majority are against this creation of new districts. But there is a situation of economic blockade also.
That is the same relation to this also.
Okay, related to this.
Related to this.
But
and
also
vote against the government of Manipur, especially.
Okay. Right, but there is also very lack of infrastructure in this whole area. Don't you think that should also be made better?
No, we think that if it is people are in oneness, the whole development will come. We think so.
So, Aishwarya, you can see that the major agenda in this area is the political issue. The people, what people are thinking, what people think in their mind, that the creation of new districts has been against the will and the wish of the people, and many of the people are feeling that even if it was made for the administrative convenience, it is giving rise to economic administrative inconvenience, and it is not going to work. So he's told very clearly that we have come here to vote against the creation of new district. It is a very, very political demand. It is a very political issue. And when I asked that whether development is an issue, he said that no, development will come once these issues are rectified. So you can understand the flavor of this whole area, Aishwarya.
Absolutely. So the second phase of elections in Manipur are on at the moment. Serpentine queues really seen in the hilly areas. The focus is obviously on the hilly areas now. And as Akhilesh is telling us that this comes in the backdrop of the economic blockade that has been imposed by the United Naga Council. And that has really become a very emotive issue as far as the hilly parts of the state is concerned. Thank you so much, Akhilesh, for joining us this morning. We'll keep coming back to you in the subsequent bulletins. Well, and the second phase of polling in Manipur is being seen as much more challenging for the authorities due to the difficult terrain and the lack of connectivity as well. Well, Rajya Sabha TV correspondent Akhilesh Suman earlier spoke to the Chief Electoral Officer about the arrangements that are put in place.
What is the major challenge in the second phase election?
Second phase of election in Manipur will be covering 1151 polling stations spread over 6 districts of Chandel, Ukhrul, Senapati, Tamenglong, Thawal and Jiribam. Out of these 6 districts, 4 hill districts are having logistics problem. It is difficult terrain, road conditions are bad. We had to use 4x4 vehicles to reach the polling stations. Out of 1151 polling stations, 24 polling parties had to leave on P-3 day.
That is what I was going to ask, that you have 4 hill districts. So what you have arranged for the hill districts? How we are managing the logistic of the hill districts?
We started dispatching polling parties on P-3 day, that is on 5th of March. We dispatched 24 polling parties on P-2 day, that is on 6th of March. We had dispatched 211 polling parties. They had to go long distance, road condition is really bad. They have to walk on foot for more than 5 hours, and they'll be able to reach today by evening only.
Okay. So in those areas, I think connectivity of wireless is also a problem. Even mobile connectivity and 3G connectivity is a problem. So how will you monitor from here?
In fact, we have made adequate communication plan. We have made arrangement for 30 satellite phones also, and all the polling stations have been covered by the repeater wireless stations recently installed by the state police.
That was our special segment on assembly polls on in two states, Uttar Pradesh and Manipur at the moment. And right now we'll take a very short break. We'll be back with more news.
Nationalism, to say, is monopolized by a certain section of people whose agenda is that if you are not with me, then you are anti-national.
Nobody can monopolize nationalism, and nobody can define nationalism.
It was the war that killed her father. Does BJP see Gurmeher Kaur now as an anti-national?
You have to understand that she's just a student for me. Our battle is with the far leftist ideological group.
Watch to the point with Union Minister of State for Home Affairs, Kiran Rijiju, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back after the break. Now, big story coming in from Uttar Pradesh. Well, a suspected active member of the terror group Islamic State has been killed by security forces after a prolonged operation in Lucknow's Thakurganj area. Well, the operation to flush out the suspected terrorist holed up in a house was launched after inputs that linked him to the Bhopal-Ujjain train blast in Madhya Pradesh on Tuesday morning. Well, the operation lasted almost 12 hours and included at least 20 commandos. Well, according to the IG of the anti-terrorism squad, the corps tried to flush out the suspect with chili bombs, but when they tried to enter the house inside, the militant fired. Now, one pistol, revolver, knife and ammunition have been recovered from him. Meanwhile, nearly 10 people are reported to be injured when a mobile phone exploded on a Bhopal-Ujjain passenger train in Madhya Pradesh. Police have detained 3 people from Hoshangabad district in connection with the incident. Now, Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan confirmed Islamic State terrorists were behind the train blast. The centre has sounded an alert across the country in wake of the recent incident.
वेपन्स मिले हैं और सीनियर अधिकारी मौके पर हैं, मौके का पूरा मुआयना किया जा रहा है। अब बाकी के जो बचे हुए अभियुक्त हैं, जो सस्पेक्ट्स बताए गए थे, उनकी तलाश भी जारी है।
कल दोपहर में शुरू हुआ था, वो सफलतापूर्वक संपादित हो चुका है। इसमें एक सिस्टर एजेंसी से हम लोग को सूचना मिली थी कि सैफुल्लाह नाम का एक व्यक्ति है जो ISIS से जुड़ा हुआ है।
आतंकी ये सारी जो घटनाएं हो रही है, ये प्री प्लान चल रहा है देश को अस्थिरता फैलाने का भारत देश में, लेकिन पुलिस ने ठीक काम किया है, सेबी कोऑर्डिनेशन ठीक चल रहा है स्टेट सेंट्रल का, इसलिए सब बातें हो रही है। रोक अच्छी लगी हुई है, कंट्रोल में है, बहुत बड़ी आबादी का देश है।
मैं मध्य प्रदेश पुलिस को, विशेषकर ATS को, होशंगाबाद जिले की पुलिस को बहुत बधाई देना चाहूंगा। ISIS से जुड़े आतंकियों ने एक बड़ी आतंकी घटना को अंजाम देने के लिए भोपाल उज्जैन पैसेंजर में सुबह लगभग 7:30 बजे पाइप बम रखा था।
On to some other news now. Well, Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari wrapped up his 2-day visit to Indonesia, where he attended the Indian Ocean Rim Association Summit. Well, the 21-nation association adopted the Declaration on Preventing and Countering Terrorism and Violent Extremism. The member nations decided to support each other's efforts to counter terrorism and violent extremism, agreeing to share information and best practices. They also pressed for effective implementation of all the relevant United Nations resolutions and declarations on international terrorism, including Global Counter-Terrorism Strategy and the UN General Assembly resolution. The members also acknowledged that terrorism also undermines economic development and social cohesion.
You've seen the declaration against violence and extremism. I think it expresses everybody's view that violence in any form is an undesirable thing for civilized life. So people are beginning to realize it, and across the board you have this convergence of views that violence has to be resisted, objected to and resisted. Greater cooperation means practical cooperation between governments, and this is happening and this will continue to happen.
And a senior functionary of the Chinese Communist Party on Tuesday said that China will soon take a call on India's demand to designate a JEM chief Masood Azhar as a global terrorist by the United Nations as it is investigating his terror activities. While speaking at a security conference in the national capital, Ma Xiangwu said that China was considering India's proposal on Azhar as well as various other aspects of the matter, like whether supporting the move may land it in a bigger problem. Well, the Chinese functionary, however, added that the terror camps in Pakistan were a matter of concern for China because Taliban was training members of the Uyghur militant group, the East Turkestan Islamic Movement. He said that there is a China camp in the Taliban where nearly 320 Chinese nationals have also been recruited.
这个领土争议是一个应该说是一个由来已久的，已经很长时间了。这个领土的争议，我看就是说其实一直要往前。
News from down south. Well, the matter of killing of an Indian fisherman in an alleged shooting by the Sri Lankan Navy has been taken up at the highest levels between the two nations. Well, Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari on Tuesday raised the issue with the Sri Lankan President Maithripala Sirisena during a bilateral meeting in Jakarta on the sidelines of the IORA summit. Meanwhile, hundreds of fishermen protested in Tamil Nadu's Rameshwaram against the killing. Remember, a 22-year-old fisherman was shot dead on Monday while he was fishing off the Kachathivu islet. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Palanisamy condemned the incident and announced a compensation of 5 lakh rupees for the victim's family. Now, India's High Commissioner in Colombo also took up the matter with the Lankan Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. The MEA said that Sri Lanka has assured full and thorough investigation into the matter.
He had spoken to the chief of the Sri Lankan Navy, who had said that no such incident from this side of Sri Lankan forces took place. He has ordered, the president has ordered full investigation. That report should be made to him.
We have seen the reports of the killing of the Indian fishermen. The matter has been taken up at very high levels with the Sri Lankan government through our High Commission in Colombo. And safety and security of all Indian fishermen is in fact all Indians abroad is a matter of very serious concern for this government.
Now to some international news now. Well, WikiLeaks has released what it termed as the biggest ever leak of confidential documents from the CIA. It has claimed that the CIA partnered with foreign intelligence agencies to turn TVs and smartphones into weapons for surveillance. It alleges that the CIA infested and collected intelligence through smart TVs and phones. Well, codenamed Vault 7, it is the largest ever publication of confidential documents on the agency. It is a substantial collection of material about CIA activities which have been obtained by WikiLeaks. Now, part 1 was obtained recently and covers through 2016, and details on the other parts will be available at the time of publication. Well, it also follows an introductory disclosure of CIA targeting French political parties and candidates in the lead up to the 2012 presidential elections. Well, WikiLeaks said recently the CIA lost control of the majority of its hacking arsenal. And the United Nations Security Council has strongly condemned the latest North Korean missile launches, calling them a grave violation of its sanctions resolutions. Well, remember, Pyongyang fired 4 ballistic missiles into the sea off Japan's coast on Monday. Well, the launches were the latest in a series of test firings that violate UN resolutions, barring Pyongyang from developing missile technology. Well, the Security Council is due to meet behind closed doors today to be briefed on the missile launches. Now, the meeting scheduled was requested by the US and Japan. Well, in a statement on Tuesday, the Council deplored the missile launches, saying that such activities contribute to increased tension in the region and beyond, as well as the risk of a regional arms race. Meanwhile, North Korea faced a chorus of condemnation at UN-sponsored conference in disarmament in Geneva. However, an unfazed North Korean diplomat blamed ongoing joint US-South Korea military exercises for tension in the area, saying that it might turn into an actual war.
In spite of the repeated warning from the DPRK, the United States kicked off this month the largest ever joint military exercise with South Korea. The annual joint military exercise is a typical expression of U.S. hostile policy towards the DPRK and a major cause of escalation of tension that might turn into actual war.
It should be very clear to the DPRK that it is a pariah. It is an outlier. It is in violation of multiple UN Security Council resolutions, and that the countries represented in this room are not going to stand by and just let the DPRK violate international law. And that is why you've had so many countries today speaking out against this reckless behavior of the DPRK. And only until the DPRK realizes that it is isolated.
And news from the UK now, where Theresa May's government has suffered a heavy defeat in a vote in Upper House of Parliament on the terms of the country's exit from the European Union. Well, the House of Lords peers, backed by 366 votes to 268, a plan to give Parliament final say over Brexit. Well, the amendment would require the final terms of the UK's withdrawal from the EU to be put to separate votes in the Commons and the Lords. Now, the turnout in the Lords for the vote was the largest since 1831. It is the second defeat the Lords has inflicted on May over the Brexit bill, after she and her ministers demanded it be passed by Lords unamended. Well, the vote could put at risk Prime Minister's timetable to start talks on quitting the EU later this month.
It was a huge vote, the largest vote I think we've ever had in the House of Lords, certainly in the last couple of centuries, and it was a very big majority, which is disappointing for the government, for us Conservatives, and those of us who are trying to provide for what people voted in the referendum last year. This issue will go back to the House of Commons, and I hope that they will knock it back.
And finally, some sports news. Well, Olympic medalist Saina Nehwal and PV Sindhu are aiming to become only the third Indians to lay hands on the coveted All-England trophy when they lead the country's challenge at the Super Series Premier Tournament. Well, ever since Pulela Gopichand replicated Prakash Padukone's 1980 feat in 2001, no Indian has ever laid claim to the crown. Well, Saina Nehwal has once managed to come close to achieving that rare feat when she reached the final at 2015. Before losing to Spain's Carolina Marin. But India will have its eyes on Saina Nehwal and PV Sindhu in this tournament this year, while Saina and Sindhu have been seeded 6th and 8th respectively. Well, Saina Nehwal will have a tough encounter in the opening round as she faces Nozomi Okuhara, while Sindhu will meet Mette Paulsen in her first match. Meanwhile, in the men's singles, 3 Indian shuttlers, H.S. Pranoy, Ajay Jairam and Kidambi Srikanth will feature in the All-England Open. Well, that's it from me and my team in this edition of Breakfast News, but news and updates continue on Rajya Sabha television. Thanks for watching.